Good day there once again, viewers. This is your mate Kamikaze78 here, come to you guys with some more Planetside 2 content. For today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Reaper DMR, an assault rifle available to the new conglomerate's Combat Medic division. Now, some of you might be thinking at this stage, well, hang on just a second here, Cammy. If it's an assault rifle, why is it called the Reaper DMR? DMR stands for Designated Marksman Rifle, and Designated Marksman Rifles aren't, well, assault rifles. Well, that's because this thing arguably behaves more like a DMR over anything else in the NC assault rifle arsenal. When it comes to short TLDRs, the Reaper DMR is an assault rifle that specializes in long-range combat and high stopping power, but subsequently suffers in the close quarters combat department thanks to its sluggish rate of fire. This is a weapon that will serve you well in long-range combat, but only if you can control its intense, arm-breaking recoil, its drunk and disorderly cone of fire bloom, and give it the respect it deserves. Hell, with enough practice with the Reaper DMR, it is even competent at engaging snipers in the hills. If you ever wanted to turn your combat medic into the squad's counter-sniper, this is the weapon to choose. However, for all of those who are interested in the numbers behind the weapon and something a little bit more in-depth than a TLDR, let's get into the guts of the Reaper DMR. The Reaper DMR will run you a cost of 1000 certs to unlock on a single NC soldier or 699 Daybreak coins to unlock it across all of your current and future NC enlistments. Personally, this is a weapon that I wouldn't go buying with Daybreak coin, as it does fit a fairly niche role and isn't exactly a must-own weapon, but this of course depends on where your priorities lie on the battlefield. When it comes to the damage profile of the weapon, it comes with a maximum damage of 200 before the 10 meter mark and drops off to a minimum damage of 167 at the 85 meter mark, which translates to a 5-shot kill at the 10 meter mark and a 6-shot kill beyond that 10 meter mark. Now, when we combine this damage profile with the rate of fire of 500 rounds per minute, or 8.33 rounds per second, we have an extremely theoretical time to kill of 0.48 seconds at the 10 meter mark and 0.6 seconds at the 85 meter mark. Now, whilst the theoretical time to kill in CQC can make the weapon look like a powerhouse for indoor fighting, there are other factors that make the weapon less reliable in CQC beyond the theoretical stats, which we will talk about later. Moving things right on along to the recoil pattern for this weapon, it comes with a fairly heavy vertical kick with a minimal horizontal shake, meaning that in a nutshell, the best you can do to control the recoil of this weapon is to pull down on the mouse. Now, for all of those interested in the nitty-gritty details, you are looking at a 0.44 degree vertical recoil kick per shot with a first shot multiplier of 1.5 times, resulting in a vertical recoil of 0.675 degree every time you initiate a new burst. Now, when it comes to the horizontal recoil of the weapon, it's a bit tricky to explain the theory behind it, so I'm going to leave a link in the description to Iridar's website where he describes the logic behind horizontal recoil, but this is how it relates to the Reaper DMR in practice. The horizontal recoil of the weapon is 0.2 degrees per shot, with the recoil angle being at a solid 0 degrees, and the horizontal tolerance of the weapon being 0.4 degrees. Now, with Iridar's explanation of horizontal recoil in place, the Reaper DMR has the possibility to kick twice in one direction repeatedly before kicking in the opposite direction, and it will also kick on an unaltered x-axis of 0 degrees, meaning that it will never drift in one direction for too long. Once we know this, we can also conclude that the Reaper DMR's horizontal recoil pattern will have a width of about 0.8 degrees from the point in which you are aiming. A lot of numbers, but that should provide you a very extensive look at how the weapon behaves recoil pattern wise. Now, if you're at all interested, the cone of fire figures for the weapon are organised on the right hand side of your screen, and we will be referencing these also later on in the video. A couple of final details regarding the Reaper DMR. It comes with a tiny magazine size of 24 rounds with an ammo pool of 144 rounds, with a corresponding reload time of 1.925 seconds for a short reload and 2.565 seconds for a long reload. Wrapping up the weapon is the aiming down sights movement multiplier coming in at a standard 0.5 times and a muzzle velocity of 615 meters per second. Now, don't let the Reaper DMR fool you. This weapon may be classed officially as an assault rifle, but the DMR part of its name is no typo. Its damage profile in combination with its slow rate of fire and high end recoil makes the weapon clearly designed for patient, long-range combat. The slow rate of fire means that while the recoil per shot on the weapon is heavy, it occurs a lot less often, making the recoil a little less intimidating than what it may seem at first. With that said, going trigger happy for long bursts isn't recommended with this weapon either, as the cone of fire bloom that we mentioned before is the highest of all the NC assault rifles, tying with the NC9 Atros for the top spot. Treat the weapon like a burst fire rifle or a semi-automatic DMR by limiting yourself to 2-round or 1-round bursts in medium to long range combat accordingly, and it will treat you back just fine. The reason I say keep it to 2-round burst is because at range, the heavy vertical recoil in combination with the first shot multiplier will really test you. Don't believe me? Well, you will when you give this weapon a try for yourself. Returning once again to the time to kill of the weapon, whilst it may be an impressive 0.48 seconds in a CQC environment, this does assume that all of your rounds hit the target in the chest area with no damage multipliers coming into play. Now I'll admit that does sound fairly simple to achieve on paper, but we all know that an accuracy of 100% is downright impossible to achieve unless you are of course a hacker, and that you are most certainly going to miss a couple of shots here and there every once in a while. In CQC, missing a shot with a weapon as slow firing as this one can be a costly mistake that could be the difference between you blasting on with your kill streak and a one-way ticket to the respawn screen. In short, this is not a weapon to go blasting into CQC with, as it does do the damage on paper but requires a perfect aim in order to be consistently effective. Now don't get me wrong, you can definitely hold your own in CQC with the weapon as long as you place your shots right, but it is most certainly not a weapon to lead the squad into a point room with. However, one redeeming factor that this weapon has for the close quarters combat arena is that it does come with a very short reload time, which is nice considering that the magazine size is also the smallest out of the entire NC assault rifle arsenal. With that in mind, I would recommend reloading as often as you possibly can just to make sure that you have all the ammo you might need for an engagement, and considering how short the reload is, there really isn't any downside to precautionary reload every once in a while. Anyway, let's just say that you were interested in the weapon, but let's be honest, not everything is perfect, and the weapon could do with a little bit of a pick-me-up. Let's go over some of the attachment options and see what we can do here. The Reaper DMR has access to the 1x through to 4x optics, including both the 2x and 1x IRNV sights, a compensator, standard suppressor, dark light flashlight, laser sight, advanced forward grip, and the high velocity ammunition. Now, in case you missed it throughout the video, the vertical recoil is a biatch here, so we are firstly going to mount a compensator to calm down some of that recoil to make the weapon slightly more bearable. Next up comes a sight of your choice. I found the 2x, 3.4x and 4x sights to work a dream with this weapon and its purpose on the battlefield, as a 1x reflex just doesn't seem to do the weapon justice at all. And if you really must insist on using a 1x sight, make it the IRMV and use it only for night ops. Next up, look at getting yourself the advanced forward grip to tame that mild horizontal recoil just a bit, and while the horizontal recoil wasn't a huge issue in the first place, every little bit helps. And finally, when it comes to the high velocity ammunition, it will increase the muzzle velocity of the weapon to 645.75 meters per second, which, thinking about it, really isn't a huge increase, so it really is up to you as to how important that small buff in muzzle velocity and minimum bullet damage range is. I know that I'm going to see a lot of this in the comments section, so I figured I would quickly address it here by saying that yes, I know the damage profile of this weapon only drops by 1 damage tier, and therefore having the high velocity ammunition doesn't increase the lethality of the weapon at range against completely healthy targets. However, having this increase in damage fall off can give you the boost you need to drop an already injured target in 1 less shot or so, and considering the mayhem that is Araxis, that could occur a lot more often than what you would expect. And folks, with all that said, that wraps up today's weapon review on the Reaper DMR assault rifle available to the new conglomerate. I really hope you guys found today's video enjoyable and or informative. If you did, then a backhanding of that like button would be greatly appreciated, and if you find yourself backhanding that like button, why don't you go about and backhand that subscribe button whilst you're at it to keep up to date with the content in which I release on the channel. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think of the Reaper DMR, and if you have any tips or tricks on how to use it, I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Once again guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, peace out, and I will see you guys next time. Have a good one.